Eli Campbell here. One thing that makes Steamboat special is how many awe-inspiring people call our valley home. You could find yourself in line at the coffee shop next to an Olympian, or sitting on the gondola next to the founder of a world-renowned business. Our community produces and attracts the best of the best in their respective fields, but most are so humble about it you would never know. These extraordinary people are the common folk in the boat. Welcome to Common Folk in the Boat. Eli Campbell here with you, joined by Dave Whitlinger of Billo Premium Cannabis. How are you doing?
I'm great.
We've got this new little
We're
thing
sitting
right
next
because,
to a holiday tree, a Christmas tree.
Tis the season. Have you gotten your holiday shopping done yet?
I did. It's always...
Is all stocking stuffers from Billo?
Yeah, hardly. My wife would kill me if that's all it was. There's a couple sleep aids, but other than that, no, I'll be honest, Eli. I shop twice for Christmas. One is Black Friday or whatever, that weekend, let's call it, because anymore you can shop all week. But I do an online splurge, and then about this time, about a week or so before Christmas, I'll spend a half a day and go downtown and pick up all those stocking stuffers and stuff, because I like to support the local business, and and it's nice to just, because I don't go shopping in Steamboat ever other than this time of year. So it's nice to just see what's out there.
I mean, that's my mentality too, is I don't do any online shopping for Christmas. It's all local. No, I do it.
Oh, well, good for you.
Unless it's,
I was gonna say,
I can't say that fully because I did buy something online, but it was from a local company. They just told me to buy online. They said it'd be easier if you just buy it online. Like, all right.
I won't pry.
But I was supporting local, so it was great. Now I'm curious, do you guys see any sort of influx this time of year? Like, is there a holiday shopping period at Billo?
Well, okay, so I'll answer that in two ways. First of all, we definitely see an influx starting now when, as we all know, in Steamboat, the planes are landing, right? So we had our first big college group come into town. They're actually here now. Not surprisingly, we had a big boon on the day that they all arrived. Go figure.
Strange.
And then, of course, we'll start to see your average just sort of customer come in over the holidays and then through Music Fest, and then we're off to the races all winter. So yes. Second thing, and you haven't asked me yet, but I'm gonna jump the gun. You always ask me every week what Billo is high on.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see how this product performs, but we just came out with a brand new product of our own, Billo Premium Cannabis chocolates. And these are bars that are, you can dose accordingly. They're just like any chocolate bar. You can rip off a chunk that's a specific dose. They're 100 milligram bars. But my thought, and where I'm going with this, is I would really like to see if this is a stocking stuffer type gift, or maybe just a holiday splurge kind of gift. Not that they're expensive. I just mean, like, other than your typical flowers or concentrates, somebody who's already a cannabis user or consumer, or just kind of curious, but the idea is maybe this could be a gift item. So I'm excited, and it's just brand new. I love when we come out with new stuff, but chocolates specifically is going to be kind of cool.
I mean, that's interesting, because I always like to stuff the stocking with candies or something like that. And so it's another way to shop local, I suppose, if you're going to do that. I have to say, too, I've been digging this sweatshirt that you're wearing.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you pulling my chain?
No, I'm not.
Because I'll be honest, we use a team of graphic designers for most of our merchandise. But because of various reasons, or I just wanted to get my hat in the ring, I actually designed this shirt. And I am not a graphic designer. So I'm wearing it loud and proud because I'm like, hey, it's the only thing I've ever actually created that's ended up on a wearable. But thank you for saying that.
I would love to get something like that for Christmas. So I have to ask you.
Oh, I see you're prodding for a gift.
Yeah, exactly. If my wife happens to be watching. No, I have to ask you, though. So the graphic on there.
Yes.
Did you happen to pull that off of the interwebs?
Like what? Oh, there goes our sign.
Oh, man.
Oh, that's an omen.
Yeah. And the reason I ask is a couple years ago, I decided to make for Halloween, I carved a ski lift with a skier and I printed off this like design from the internet, and it looks just like that without the smoke. So.
Oh, okay. So yes, I mean, full disclosure, I started with an idea, or like a file that I can then modify. So I did some modification to add the chairlift smoking on the chairlift, which I'm sure our friends
Not
at the ski area
that we
would
advocate
hate
that.
to
This
see.
is a chairlift
This
on
is not
private property
Steamboat.
somewhere.
Even though it says Steamboat Springs, right? Never mind.
There's private property somewhere that has this.
No, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't trace it from scratch. I used the tools at my discretion, but I'm pleased with how it came out, and our customers. It's new merch.
I like the colors. I like the design.
Thanks, man.
It doesn't have to be from anywhere in particular.
All right. I think I know what you're getting as a stocking stuffer for me.
Yeah. Well, thank you. It's either that or it could be a paddleboard. Just saying. That's
I don't know if that'll fit in a stocking.
Yeah, we'll see. We're going to be actually talking to the new owner of Hala today. I'm really looking forward to this. I've known Peter Hall for a long time. He moved into town and actually was a ski instructor at the ski resort with my wife back in around 2007. He worked with me at the radio station for a while before launching Hala. Recently, after almost a decade or more doing that, he sold it to Colleen King, who was a local high school graduate here. Mm-hmm. She's come back to town and is keeping this brand alive and the culture of it alive in Steamboat. So I'm really looking forward to talking to her about the brand Hala, but also how important it is for her to kind of come back to her hometown and keep this hometown brand going. So we'll be right back after this with Colleen King of Hala Gear. Welcome back to Common Folk in the Boat. Eli Campbell here with you. We are joined by Colleen King of Hala. How are you doing?
Good. Yeah.
Good. So I'm going to start actually with a little story. About the time that you were graduating from high school here, I believe, I was working over at the local radio station, and one Peter Hall was working for me. I was the manager. He was one of our salespeople, and I very distinctly remember he came into my office one day, and he said, "Eli, I think I have to quit." And I said, "Okay, well, why?" And he said, "Well, I have this idea. I've been calling China at night and working here all day, and I have this idea for a paddleboard company." And at the time, I didn't know much about paddleboard companies, but that was the birth of Hala. Yeah. I want to know, because you've recently taken over ownership there, back in 2011, 2012, about that time, what were your aspirations? You were, recently graduated from high school. Where did you see yourself going?
Yeah, good question. I didn't realize that's your connection with Peter.
Yeah.
He always talks about he liked that.
By the way, can I chime in? So I was around the radio at that time. I wasn't working there anymore. But when I had heard that Peter was quitting, the first thought in my mind was, "Man, you're crazy. What are you doing? We'll see you back in 6 months when you're begging for a job." Yeah. I'm pleasantly surprised to report that we're all happy that didn't happen, that he made it work. Sorry, had to chime in.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, he is a little crazy.
It's good. It's good. Yeah. We need that.
Yeah. Yeah. So 2011, 2012, I was playing volleyball at the University of Denver. And I think my aspirations were more along the lines of, I got to go overseas and play professionally a couple of seasons, but I wanted to do that for a little bit. And then I was really interested in journalism or human rights or humanitarian work of some sort.
Were you one of those kids of Steamboat that as soon as you left, you wanted to get out and see what you could leave behind? Or did you always know that you'd end up back here in this community?
Yeah, good question. One time we were doing vlogs for DU social media or something, and one of my teammates was asked who's most likely to live in their hometown, and she said Colleen King, and I was so offended. I was like, "No, I'm not going. It's okay. I'm not going back there. It's a great town, but I'm not going back there." So I didn't see myself coming back, and every time I came back, I loved it. And then every time I left, I talked about how much I loved it. And I think right around COVID, I got grounded here, and I don't know why I kept trying to leave. So it was a surprise.
Dave and I have talked about it before. We both have, he's got a college student now and a high schooler. I've got a middle schooler and an elementary school kid. And we've talked about how kids that grow up here don't really truly fully have the opportunity to appreciate what they have until they go off and see what other people, and introduce themselves to the other kids at college and say, "Wait, you didn't get to go skiing 3 times a week and, mountain biking right out your door." So what was that like for you, kind of really having that realization that this was the place that you wanted to come back to and call home?
Yeah, well, at DU, everyone was trying to escape to the mountains, or so many people went to DU to go to Steamboat on the weekends. So that was kind of my first little inkling. And then I was just obsessive about it when I was traveling, showing people pictures of Steamboat and like all the things you could do. So I think that helped kind of guide me back here. And then once I came back and as an adult, I got to kind of embark in different aspects of the community. I played a lot of indoor sports growing up. And so when I started mountain biking and skinning and just trying different outdoor things, it was like I was locked in.
And of course, one of those outdoor things is paddleboarding.
Yeah.
Was paddleboarding something that was that a lifestyle that you were immersed in before you started working for Peter and for Hala, or did you kind of find paddleboarding through a job?
Yeah, absolutely. And I was a friend of a friend referred me to the job, and I thought it was time to get a big kid job, and it would sound like a nice, fun outdoor company. And I started in August. I don't think I got on a paddleboard until the following May. And then I really liked it, and then I left the company for a little bit, and then during COVID is really when I kicked it off my brother, and I went every single day, twice a day sometimes, and then now I still do the same when it's running.
You know, it's one of those things during that time, I think we were all trying to figure out ways to stay sane, and getting outdoors was the one thing that we could do. I know I got on my bike a whole lot more during the COVID time frame than I have probably since. But you know, I know that was also a challenge in the outdoor industry. That kind of time frame brought about a few challenges. You weren't necessarily in the business end of that too much at the time. I know it's something that Peter had to deal with, though. Can you talk a little bit about some of those challenges that Hala went through and the whole outdoor industry during COVID and subsequently afterwards?
Yeah, well, I actually was part of it. My first stint with Hala, I worked 2016 to 2017, and then I went to grad school, and then I came back and I worked at one Steamboat place as a transaction coordinator, and got furloughed from that job, and Peter was having kind of a boom, and asked me to come back. I started picking up hours, and it was really interesting to see everyone was so scared, and then everyone was looking for things to do. So it was like a roller coaster. Like we'd hit really low lows, and then everyone would need something to do, and then people were scared again. And it was. I think it's finally starting to level out a little bit. But,
Yeah.
Were there supply issues? Probably, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the big thing I remember with outdoor industry as a whole was all these orders are coming in, but then all the supply chain was just getting, crumbled.
Yeah, I mean, it was a surplus. We had people who had placed their preseason orders with us in 2019 for 2020, and then COVID hit, and everyone freaked out. Our wholesalers got nervous and canceled all their orders. REI canceled a huge order. And you could have Peter fact check me on this, of course, but and then it like spiked, and then all of a sudden everyone wanted their orders back, and we had already sold so much online and couldn't get them new products, and so it was a huge supply demand issue. They were always like off kiltered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Did you, as you were working with Hala and for Peter, before you kind of even saw maybe there was an opportunity to get involved as an owner or anything like that, did you have a goal to get more involved in the company, to become a bigger player in it? Or were you just kind of seeing this as an opportunity to work and pay your bills living in your hometown in a ski town?
Yeah, I think it started that way, just an opportunity to have a good job. Work a normal 9 to 5, have weekends off. And then, you've worked with Peter. He's so inspiring and creative. And the way he ran his company was to just, if you found an opportunity and could chase it, go for it. So I really liked that. And after I got out and worked a couple different jobs, I realized that was not a norm in a normal grown-up job. I think I started to get more and more integrated, and every time I'd take on a new project or make something else happen, it was like almost like a drug. Then I wanted to keep doing it. When I left for grad school, I got an MA in human rights, and Peter was trying to convince me that working for a for-profit business like Patagonia was the way to actually evoke change and have an impact. So he didn't try to talk me out of getting my master's, but he definitely challenged that. And then during COVID, I could kind of see the potential of how you could utilize a company like Hala to do good.
Well, that's something I know about Peter, because I have worked for him, is he was always somebody that would challenge your way of thinking. He was always someone that it was, as a manager, it was kind of frustrating at times because he was always questioning, isn't there a better way? Couldn't this be done better? And sometimes his mind was running 100 miles per hour. Yeah. And I mean, it was always inspiring, but at the same time, a challenge to try to harness and manage. But as someone who is working for him and then learning from him, you had to learn some great creativity and different techniques along the way of just ways to kind of say, all right, here's an idea. How are we going to make this happen? Let's do it. Yeah. Can you talk about that at all?
Yeah. I would leave, 3-hour-long meetings with Peter feeling like my head was going to explode, but also having, a whole diagram of ideas and directions we could go with Hala. From should we paint the warehouse to like a brand new product. And I think him and I work really well, and he's still working with Hala, which is awesome. I feel so thankful for that. He's so creative and sees problems from every different angle, and I'm a pretty linear chronological thinker. I was originally hired on as his executive assistant, and so because of that, we work.
Try to organize the chaos.
Funnel his thoughts into something. So, yeah.
Well, and then, of course, the opportunity came this year to purchase Hala. Yeah. And I want to know, because I know there were some struggles with some of the debt and things like that. And there was a question whether or not the brand was going to be able to survive. And you saw it as something that was too great not to try to find a way to keep it alive. Yeah. Talk about why you felt that way about the brand specifically and why you felt like you were the right person to take on that challenge.
Yeah. And I don't even know where to start with that. The brand itself is really near and dear to my heart. In 2020, with COVID happening, my dad was really sick. He'd been sick for about 8 years with strokes. One of my little brothers, I'm one of 5 kids, and the youngest brother was back in town, and it was a really hard summer. My dad passed in October 2020. So to get out on the river in like the last year of his life, we'd go every day, and it was just like solitude and peace, and you have to be present because especially when you're learning, you're in the water a lot and swimming. So just the experience of paddleboarding I fell in love with. And then through that whole process, everyone that helped build the brand became like family. And was super supportive through the loss of my dad. They all came to his service, supported me through the day-to-day waves of grief. So because of that, I loved the brand. And then just the way that Peter had like built the culture of the company of we're people first, and our goal is to help people have their best day ever and create experiences they'd never have, and treat our customers like humans, treat our employees like humans. There's just like so much goodness in the culture of it. So those are the things I really like, along with the fact that I believe in the product. I mean, I think Peter's designs are amazing. I think they're unique. I think that he does them well. He like puts a lot of effort into manufacturing and making sure they're manufactured in like a humane way, and people are treated fairly that are putting in the labor to build our boards. And what was the second half of your question?
Well, the second half was, now that we know why you believe so much in the brand, why do you feel like you were the right person to take it on?
Oh, I don't know if I was, but I just saw the opportunity. I was trying to help him sell it to someone who was the right person. And people would come up and they seemed, business-minded, but I don't think they got it.
They weren't entrenched the way you were. Yeah. I mean, you'd been there for a few years at that point. I could see where you're going with that.
Yeah. And the brand itself is like just essential to the sport, and people love Hala. There is like a weird little cult following of people that love the brand more than just the products. So between having good community resources and business mentors and Peter agreeing to come with me and continue working with me, I felt like I could do it. I don't think I've said this a lot of times, but I don't think you can have Hala without Peter. So to know that he's still invested in the brand is...
So he's got job security is what you're saying?
Yes, he does. And then I've just learned a ton through my positions in the company and having to cover for different employees or, working with different people. And Peter knows a lot, and Potter, who's come with us too, he was full-time before as well. Between the three of us, it's feels definitely like a three-way partnership than like I'm the one that's doing it. So I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, that's got to be nice to have the founder and the visionary for the product to still be guiding you along the way.
Yeah.
And you talked a little bit about the cult of kind of the brand, and we've talked before with whether it's with Robin Hall of Town Hall or Andrew Beckler of Grass Sticks, Eric Baker, Harvest, how this community really supports these local brands. You know, you can go onto the mountain, and if you see a kid in Town Hall and Grass Stick poles, you know that they're a local. Like if I go out to Steamboat Lake in the summertime and we're out on paddleboards and there's another group out there with a Hala board, they're most likely locals, although Steamboat Lake also likes to support locals by having those as rentals. But the idea is, you know, that this community really does support their entrepreneurs that are investing in outdoor activities. And you've seen that now growing up here as well as a business owner. Can you talk a little bit about kind of how that helps you along the way now that you're going into the ownership of the business?
Yeah. I think Steamboat people have, a sense of adventure and are really proud of Steamboat and proud of the community. And those two things combined make an awesome customer, especially for a lot of the products like that you just named and companies that you just named. So you get awesome people on awesome gear, and it's just like free marketing, which is incredible. And then the support is awesome. A lot of people were really disappointed and sad that we had to close down Gear Space. And maybe we'll have a retail space again. I hope in the spring and summer to do more pop-up shops, different ways to get locals their goods. But the local support is awesome, and they tell their friends, they tell their family, and people from Steamboat travel, so it just spreads like wildfire, I think, naturally.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about too, you get kind of this natural market research by letting the people that are out there doing activities constantly kind of really on your gear and your products. One thing I knew Peter would do a lot of, though, is he would be traveling around to some crazy spots, Japan and all these different places, big rivers and things like that, and really challenging the gear. Is that something that you have in mind as the owner, to get out there and really kind of test the products yourself?
Yeah, we have an ambassador teaching waterfall drop classes, SUP waterfall drops in Scotland. Love to go there. My little brother and I just got off we did the first 10 days on a Grand Canyon permit and paddleboarded. I mostly swam it. So, yeah, definitely want to challenge it. And I think Peter's such an incredible athlete, and he's fearless, and he's so skilled. My approach is that I am an athlete, but I didn't grow up doing water sports. I didn't surf or anything like that. So I like telling my story as a way of like, you can do this and you can grow into it, and where you decide to stop is, your comfortability level. Yeah. My mom will do from Walton Creek to Fetcher with me, and that's where she stops. And I can get some people to go all the way through the C-hole, D-hole, and then some people fall in love with it and, are adrenaline junkies and do crazy things. I still haven't totally found where my edge is, but definitely want to travel and push the boundaries.
Nice. Now, like you said, you had to close the gear space, the retail space. There's been some changes. You're kind of more online now. Mm-hmm. Talk about what that, as you kind of moved into the ownership, you had to make some tough decisions, but also kind of what you foresee going forward for the company.
Yeah. Right now, someone said that I'm living like the entrepreneur's dream. I have a desk in my bedroom in my rental house, and living off of selling computers and weird warehouse gear and stuff like that. But I do see the vision for where we're headed, and we're just downsizing, getting all our expenses kind of under control, and figuring out what realistically the market can support. And we're going to go into just river, which is an interesting niche, trying to compete with lake and surf and, Costco and Amazon and all those huge brands that can sell things for really cheap. Didn't make sense. So we're going to see if we can grow the river sport and get more people on boards. I think part of that is really important in the narrative, that people can see themselves doing it. You see crazy things Peter's doing in like Japan, and it's awesome to be inspired by that, but I think more getting people on the water and trying to see themselves in that is important.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting to hear you say that you're going more river. And I remember I had a conversation with Peter years ago, many, many years ago, when he started Hala. Paddleboarding was relatively young, and there wasn't that much competition. And I was talking to him. I'd had this idea for some product, and I was kind of trying to have a conversation with him about where do you even get started. And it was a product that more or less existed. I was just trying to modify it, and he kind of told me, man, if I were getting into paddle boards now, I would never do it. It was because of the competition. But you're looking at how to still stay within the paddleboard world, find the niche that's there, and it's rivers is what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah, and Paul Clark, who does our social media and has been with the brand for a long time, helped Peter grow it, calls it adventure paddling. And I think that is an opportunity. A lot of people got into paddleboarding in general on lakes during COVID and that had maybe never been on a board. Lakes are great. I like to bring my book out and lay on a lake, but it can get a little boring. So as soon as you get someone on some moving water, it doesn't have to be moving even fast, and you're just, between the banks of the river, you can see moose and bear and, blue herons and all sorts of things. I think that it's just a different experience. And
it's kind of the idea of like bike packing, for a long time people were biking and then they wanted to see how to push those limits. I know Dave's a big bike packer. I'll see his social media posts where he's just on a whim. It seems like you figure out how far you can go and then camp. And
just leave the house and just let the road take me wherever. Yeah. Oftentimes.
Yeah. So taking that adventure mindset to the river and like you said, I enjoy going out on a lake, but I enjoy going on rivers. I'm not great. You end up falling or being on your knees a lot, but it takes you somewhere. It takes you point to point and you see a little bit more. So it's fun to see that. There are any other ideas or anything else that you have that you're thinking of as you're moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think that people like to rep the brand. I want to get more like soft goods and things like that. We have a Hala swim team shirt that's pretty awesome, and I rock. I actually wore it today, earlier. Peter's got some great ideas, and I'm excited to just see what happens when he's locked in a room with crayons and he's still kind of decompressing from having to do the years of business that he did. He's got a couple good ideas for some inflatable surfers that are good in the ocean and the river. A couple protos that are sweet. And then I'm interested to see what he'll be able to draw up with different paddles and things like that. But to be honest, I mean, the ideas, they're Peter's. And I'll just listen to him and help formulate them into the product.
Well, every successful, a business like that, I imagine, you need someone in R&D, so it might as well be him. And if that's a strong suit and a passion, now that he's sort of removed from the day-to-day, which is, like you said, probably really good for the creative side. Boy, if he's still got ideas in his brain and some noodling some new, designs, that's where you as the owner can really help work with him and direct those launches to, again, stay on the forefront so that it's not just another paddleboard, but there's intention behind what you guys are designing. And I love the fact that you're also testing that gear in actual day-to-day, and that goes back to what Eli just said about Steamboat being a great place to R&D. We've got the Yampa River. That's a world class. If you need to test out a new design, what better place than your backyard? So
we were actually just looking today. We were supposed to get our samples for our 2025 boards, and I was sitting in the library and I was looking. I was like, I wonder if you could make it through there. But I think we'll try to go over to Shoshone or something like that. But in general, it's an incredible town the Yampa is so perfect for it. It starts at 1 and builds up through the D hole and just like increases in intensity. But I think some of the other things we'll do besides products is I want to get more in front of people again. I think we kind of got away from doing events and going to visit our retailers and wholesalers just with COVID, and as Peter purchased CKS online, some of the focus shifted. So just getting back out in front of people and paddling with people and helping them fall in love with the sport.
Yeah, Peter did a great job building the brand, building the company, and then kind of expanding with CKS. But it sounds like you're kind of almost bringing it back to more of a boutique type of model, wanting to really be more intentional about exactly what you're bringing to market and who you're talking to and getting in front of the customers. Yeah. How do you think that will help bring a competitive advantage for you over what, like you said, the big, retail, the retailers that have those brands that are able to undercut the cost because it's a volume thing, but you're going to be able to have a higher quality product?
Yeah. I think that we expanded so far that it was like we were trying to be good at everything. We were trying to be good at being the affordable board and the lake board and the all-around board and the highest tech and design. And I think what we're really good at and what Peter's designs have proven is people are willing to pay for his river designs. And everyone loves a discount. Everyone loves a pro deal, a local deal. But even if you don't have the margins to give people that, people still want a Hala when they're on the river. And that's not necessarily the case with some of the all-around. So exactly what you said, I think more boutique. We're not sacrificing quality as we just did our 2025 designs. And there were things I was looking at, should we do this different? And I really value that it's quality. And Peter's goal when he started, I think, was to, you only have to buy one for a decade. It's not going to be something you have to buy every year. And it ends up in a landfill, so I still really believe in that. And being in the middle of the Grand Canyon, so remote, I didn't even think about it until a couple of days in. I was like, man, if one of these seams blows, we're kind of screwed.
You're swimming the whole thing.
Yeah, yeah. So I appreciate the quality.
I vividly remember it was a video that he produced probably early days. I don't know when, but it was amazing. He took his board, inflated it, and then he procured a bunch of the lesser quality boards. And he sat on the bank of the river. He propped them up on, wood or whatever so that they bowed in the middle. And he just started crushing boards. Yeah. Just like, here's the competition. He would sit on it and it would just pancake. Yeah. And then he took his Hala, laid it out, and he was jumping on it like a trampoline. Yeah. And the thing never bowed to the point of creasing or deflating or busting a seam. It was one of those, like, that right there, that video sold me, and I'm not even a paddleboard. I'm like, I get it now. Like, that's what you pay for, and that's the beauty of the design. So I would say, not that I'm in your marketing team, but man, stick with that kind of stuff, because when you do compare it to the stuff, I mean, heck, I saw a paddleboard for sale at Walmart. Like, I'm never going to buy that because I don't want that situation you're potentially describing. I don't want to be on some river and have that thing just, bail out on me, and then I'm hosed.
Yeah. In the same vein, I remember a marketing video where someone was driving a truck over the Hala board. And nothing happened to it. Yeah, exactly.
I love it.
And I've gone on vacation where I've gone and rented a paddleboard somewhere, and it's not the quality, and you can tell, even if it's just a lake or something small, it's still, it doesn't feel as strong and as good a product. And maybe I was spoiled because the first paddleboard I was ever on was a Hala board. That's one of the benefits of living in this town, is we get some really good quality stuff just being locals. And I want to kind of come back to that line of questioning, is the local community. And Steamboat, 6-8 months out of the year, the Yampa River is great, but 6 or 8 months out of the year, you can't really paddleboard on it. And so how does that bring a challenge? And do you feel like Steamboat is really the best place for your product?
Yeah, great question. Well, thankfully, through Peter building the brand, he's diversified where we are so much. We have a really, really big community in Asheville, North Carolina, and with all of the flooding, we've actually heard that the Nolichucky can perhaps be run all year round now. I think it was the Nolichucky. And so we're in a few different states in a really big way. I would like to push us internationally. They had, Jimmy and Peter had started trying to look into sales in New Zealand or something in the southern hemisphere to offset the seasonality of it. So I want to explore that. I'd like to explore maybe Costa Rica or some of the more tropical areas. I'd also like to travel there.
I was
so
say, are you building a business, or are you just like deciding where you want to vacation?
They're all right off stage.
I want in on that.
Yeah. I know. So it definitely does present challenges, and rivers only run so much, but there is a lot of dam release rivers that you can access, and we started getting a little bit more of a following in Arizona this year, which has some more dam release to run. So
That dam release.
sorry.
Yeah, thanks.
No, it's like I
Appreciate
said, that Dave's here to provide a joke every once in a while.
It's not even funny jokes. It's bad ones, but I'll take it. Whatever.
Well, I for one, I think it's amazing that Hala was able to stay local, but not just stay local, be run by someone whose roots are local to Steamboat. Peter did an incredible job with this vision, grew it, and to have someone who worked for him come and take it over, to have someone who has real roots to this local community, not just some outside interest come in. I want to say thank you, first of all, and really appreciate that. But I think too, like you were talking about a little bit, you had some owners that just kind of came in and didn't seem, or potential owners that seemed not quite the right fit.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really, something special that you knew exactly along the way, like no one else is going to do this other than someone that's from the inside here. And hopefully you'll be able to carry that mentality as you continue forward. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Again, it was Colleen King, one of the common folk of the boat. I think you fit this podcast really well because not only were you raised here, but you're an entrepreneur and you're building a business here. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.